Okay, picture this. It's October 20th, 2025. It's a totally normal Monday. You wake up, you do your usual thing. You grab your phone, but then things start getting weird. Apps aren't loading. Websites are just spinning. And no, it's not your Wi-Fi. It's the internet itself, and it feels like it's breaking.
You know that feeling, right? That little moment of panic where you're not sure if you should reset your router for the 10th time or if something much, much bigger is going on. Well, on this particular day, it was definitely something bigger. Millions of us were having the exact same thought at the exact same time. And when I say a lot of things went down, I mean a lot. We're talking about the stuff that runs our daily lives. Your snaps weren't sending. You couldn't get into a game of Roblox or Fortnite. Disney Plus was a no-go. Couldn't pay your friend back on Venmo or check your crypto on Coinbase. Even your daily Wordle was gone. It hit everything from your Ring doorbell to reading the news to ordering a burger on the McDonald's app. Just poof, gone.
So what on earth could possibly take down so many huge, totally unrelated services all at once? The question on everyone's mind was immediate. Is this some kind of massive, coordinated attack, or just a really, really bad glitch? As all these platforms went dark, the internet did what it does best. It started speculating, and one theory absolutely caught fire, going viral everywhere. The idea that this was a huge state-sponsored cyber attack on US infrastructure.
But here's where the panic meets reality. On one side, you have this dramatic, almost movie-like plot of a cyber war, and on the other, the truth that cybersecurity analysts figured out pretty fast. It was an internal failure at Amazon Web Services, AWS. The problem wasn't some external attack. It was coming from inside the building.
So if it wasn't a cyber attack, what in the world was it? This brings us to the real culprit and how one single, very specific spot on the map can pretty much hit the pause button on a huge piece of the internet. So the ground zero for all this chaos was a place called AWS US-EAST-1 in Northern Virginia. The best way to think about it is like the grand central station of the internet. It's Amazon's oldest, it's their biggest, and most importantly, it runs the control planes. That's like the air traffic control system for tons of their services all over the globe. And here's why a problem there is such a gigantic deal. Amazon Web Services powers more than a third of the world's entire cloud infrastructure. That is a staggering market share. So yeah, when US East 1 has a bad day, the rest of the digital world really feels it. So what actually technically went wrong? Well, according to Amazon's own reports, it all kicked off with increased error rates and latencies. In plain English, the basic building blocks that developers use to make their apps, things like databases and servers, they just started to sputter and fail. They got slow, they got buggy, they got totally unreliable. Okay, so how does one technical error in a building in Virginia cause a complete and total meltdown for your favorite apps all over the country? Well, it all comes down to a massive domino effect. It's the simple, brutal chain reaction. It starts with that one fault at the data center. That fault then knocks over the core services, the digital Lego bricks that every app is built with. All of a sudden, the apps you use every single day lose their backend. They can't get to their data, they can't process your login, they can't do anything. And that's the moment that ROBLOX, Snapchat, and Venmo all go dark on your phone.
And this is the real eye-opener. This whole event just rips the curtain back on one of the internet's biggest vulnerabilities. We like to think of the internet as this decentralized, sprawling, infinite thing, but the truth is, a huge chunk of it is incredibly centralized, depending on the physical buildings and servers of just a handful of giant companies like Amazon.
But here's where the story gets really interesting. Not everything broke. While countless companies were in full-blown panic mode, one of the biggest streaming platforms on the planet was just fine. And how they pulled it off is a masterclass in preparing for total disaster. That's right. Netflix stayed online, and it was absolutely not luck. It was because of a core philosophy they have. They literally designed for failure. They operate under the assumption that things will break, and they build their entire system around that one idea.
So here's their survival guide, basically. First, their services are stateless, which just means any server can handle any request. So one server dying isn't a huge deal. Second, they spread their data out, so there's always a hot backup ready to go. Third, they use what's called N+1 redundancy, which is a fancy way of saying they always have way more servers and capacity than they actually need. But it's that fourth rule that is just next level.
They have a tool called Chaos Monkey. And yeah, you heard that right. It's a piece of software that Netflix built to intentionally and randomly shut down parts of its own live network. It's basically a permanent fire drill that they run on themselves 24/7. It forces their engineers to build a system so tough that it can survive random disasters because they're literally the ones causing them every single day.
So what's the final big picture lesson from all of this? What does the day the internet broke really tell us about the digital world that we're all living in?
Well, there are 4 huge takeaways. 1, the internet is way more centralized than we think it is. 2, a tiny technical glitch in one spot can have massive global consequences. 3, staying online isn't an accident. Resiliency, the kind Netflix has to be built on purpose. And 4, our entire digital lives, our games, our money, our friends, they all depend on a few massive, invisible, and pretty vulnerable data centers.
And that leaves all of us with one final, pretty sobering question to think about. As we keep moving every single piece of our lives online and into the cloud, are we building our digital future on a foundation that's just too fragile?